start our major broadcast on a major satellite network, not Sirius XM, but on a satellite feed that radio stations can pick up. We start that on. It's Thursday, October 25th, Friday, October 26th, if you're on the East Coast or across the pond. And this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. Hope you had a great day and night. I am your host, Dave Scott, broadcasting to you live from the Great White North on top of the mountains of central British Columbia, right here at SOR headquarters. We welcome you nightly on the SOR Radio Network and Deep Talk Radio. And if you want to listen to our archives, they are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we got a plethora of features for you. You can rock out to Bumblefoot. Soon, you'll be able to shop at our brand new Spaced Out Radio store, read up on the encounter online, our news section, and so much more. Tonight's show is brought to you by the YouTube channel Ensuho. Sebastian Martin bringing high-quality messages to the masses. Go to spacedoutradio.com, click on the Ensuho banner, and subscribe to the channel today. Tonight, since we are just around the corner from Halloween, I figured we'd get deep into the spooky stories as paranormal author Rick Hale joins us to discuss some of the weirdest, strangest, and scariest phenomena he's written about. From haunted hotels to the legends of ghosts, Rick is on the trail researching both the phenomena and the people behind the experiences. The associate editor for SpookyIsles.com, Rick has been involved with investigations since youth. He's also the author of The Geek's Guide to Strange and Unusual, Poltergeists, Ghosts, and Demons. Then at the bottom of hour number 3, Paranoia Magazine's Olaf Phillips will be back with another edition of the SOR News Wire. Mr. Rick, how you doing, buddy? Good to have you on the show, Dave. Finally.
Yes, thank you for having me. This is fantastic. Thank you.
Oh, we're quite thankful that you hopped on in, because I like to be honest with my audience. I made a scheduling snafu, and I originally had David Weatherly scheduled, but he's like, no, Dave. He goes, this is Halloween month. I can't do this. He goes, remember we talked about booking it for November? And I'm like, damn it. We need to fill that spot. Yes. And then I was searching Instagram, and you're all over my Instagram now with these fantastic posts. And I'm like, I got to get a hold of Rick. So I did.
Yes.
What have you been up to?
Yeah. Well, as you were talking about the Instagram, first off, I just want to say not only am I the author of the book that you mentioned, The Geek's Guide to the Strange and Unusual, Poltergeist, Ghosts, and Demons. Just a few days ago, I had a new book that was released.
Oh, nice.
It's called Behold, Shocking True Tales of Terror, ... and some other spooky stuff. Yeah, it just got released a couple days ago by Bayul Aethers Publishing. It's actually out of Scotland, and it was a book on my own personal experiences and some of the things that I've learned along the way. So it was a very personal book.
What got you into the paranormal?
Well, it started for me when I was 8 years old in 1982, and I grew up in the what we call the Chicagoland area.
Right.
So I don't have to get too geographical for people. I'll say I grew up in Chicago, and my grandparents, they lived in this old building on Belmont Avenue in Franklin Park, which was just west of Chicago. And everybody knew that there was something strange about my grandparents' house. You would hear, footsteps when nobody was there. You would hear, doors close when nobody was around. So basically, my grandparents' house was haunted. And late one night, my cousin Christopher and I, we had just gone to bed, and I hadn't fallen asleep yet. I had to use the bathroom. Now, if anybody is familiar with these older buildings in Chicago, there's the front room, and then there's a big long hallway, and towards the back, there is a kitchen and a bedroom. Well, this was a 150-year-old house, so there was no lighting in the hallway where the bathroom was. But my grandmother, she always kept the light on in the bathroom. So, in case us kids were sleeping in the front room and we needed to go to the bathroom, we would be able to find it with ease. So I got up to go use the bathroom, and I'm walking towards, and I see somebody moving around in the bathroom. Now, my grandparents, they had their own bathroom in their bedroom, so there would have been no reason for them to be in that bathroom. So I'm watching somebody move around in there, and all of a sudden the light flicks off. And it was like it bathed in absolute darkness. Finally my eyes adjusted a little bit, from the moonlight that came in. And all of a sudden I see this woman walk out of the bathroom. And it wasn't my grandmother. Yeah. She just comes walking out of the bathroom. I've never seen this woman before. And it wasn't my grandmother. My grandmother was a very short woman, maybe at the most 5 feet tall, 4'11", 5 feet, somewhere around there. And this woman was a lot taller than my grandmother. And I'm like looking at her, and I've never seen her before. And she turns around and she looks down at me. And she's this old woman. And she puts her hand on my face. And it's like I see this every time somebody asks me about this, but it's like I get chills just talking about this. And she put her hand on my chin, and she says in a very thick Irish accent, "My, what a fine lad."
Oh, weird.
And then, and then she turned and walked towards the kitchen, and I'm actually watching her sort of melt into thin air as she's walking away.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, yeah. So the funny thing was, it's like I was afraid at first, but it's like when she touched my face, it was a very comforting kind of a touch.
Was she a full body apparition? Like, was she, like, you weren't seeing through her? It looked like there was a real person right there?
She was as solid as you or I, until she started to fade away as she walked away. So the next morning, my grandmother, I was 8 years old. My grandmother, she was an old-fashioned Southern woman, and she had a way of explaining things to us, to her grandchildren, And, she could tell that something was wrong with me. And I told her what happened. And she said, "Oh, don't worry about that. That's just Mrs. McNett. She won't hurt you." Now, Mrs. McNett...
comforting.
Exactly. Mrs. McNett was the wife of the man who owned the building and lived in the upstairs apartment from where my grandparents lived. And she had died 10 years earlier in the house. And it wasn't just me that had experienced Mrs. McNett over the years. My uncle briefly saw her when he came back from Vietnam, and my grandmother saw her quite regularly. And my cousins, even cousins from my family's from the South. They're from the deep South in Alabama. And I even had cousins from as far south as Alabama who came to visit that had some kind of experience with Mrs. McNett. My cousin Vicky, when she was visiting when she was a little kid, she's only a couple years older than me. She was standing too close to the stove, and the stove in my grandparents' home was a very old-fashioned stove, and you could easily burn yourself on it. And she got a little too close, and she heard a woman's voice say in her ear in an Irish accent, "Don't stand too close to the stove, you're going to burn yourself." So, everybody had some kind of an experience. And what was really great about my experience with Mrs. McNett was it was a very comforting, it was a very positive first experience. And that kind of what set me on the life path that I've had. From the time that I was 8 years old to the time that I was 17 was a time of reading all that I could possibly read on the subject. And growing up between the northern suburbs of Chicago and Chicago, my parents were divorced. I had two different libraries that I could go to, a Chicago Public Library and the library where my mom lived. So I spent a lot of my time reading books by Elliot O'Donnell and Hans Holzer and Peter Underwood. And, 17 years old was when I, finally did my first investigation, which was quite by accident.
So basically you fell into this because of this old Irish lady at Grandma's house.
Yeah.
That's kind of a cool story, because for so many people, their lives are transfixed on, especially in the paranormal, that maybe they've had a minor experience and they got really intrigued by the television shows, or usually you hear some sort of real freaky, scary story, but yours was actually quite pleasant.
It was. And it's funny too, because it's like I tell a lot of people this and they seem to be surprised by it, that it was a very comforting and positive experience that got me involved. And it's like, I'm sorry, man, I didn't have any experiences, with evil spirits and demons and stuff like that. My experience was with the apparition of a very sweet old lady, and I think that's, what it really colored my perception of how I approach things as an investigator.
So when did you start figuring out that this was something that was going to be a lifelong investment for you in trying to figure out these phenomena?
That's just the way that it turned out. It really did. I mean, I was so completely fascinated with this idea of survival of us as a species, as human beings. That a part of us survives past death. And, and that's what's always kept me fascinated. And, for 36 years, it's always had me coming back for more.
Do you feel that you've solved any of the mystery, or do you feel that there's still a long, winding, arduous road ahead? When
it comes to the spirit realm, I think that we are barely scratching the surface as it is. I mean, people, they go on, you see on like the television shows, or you talk to people and they use words like proof. Well, organized psychical research, parapsychology, ghost hunting, paranormal investigation, whatever you want to call it, has been going on since at least the 1860s with the London Ghost Club, which pretty much started it all, and then to the 1880s with the founding of the Society for Psychical Research. So we're going on 150 years of, or more, of organized paranormal investigation and research, and I really just don't think that we can say that we are any closer to really knowing, the truth, really having an understanding of consciousness, what it means to be human. And I think that that's one of the things that really fascinates me about it is that what is it exactly that does survive? Is it the mind? Is it consciousness? Is there something truly metaphysical like a soul that transcends the death of the body? And, I really don't know, but man, I've been at it long enough, and really I'll probably be at it until the day I die, and it still holds fascination for me.
Really, eh? Really,
Mm-hmm.
that's good. Every day is something different in the paranormal. There's going to be days where you go to hot spots and they are completely silent. Lack of a better pun, completely dead zones.
Right.
Yet you go to some spots and all of a sudden you get action that you never knew there was action there before. When you started your quest trying to figure out what was going on, how did you know, because there was no television shows or anything of the sort, how did you know where to start, where to begin looking? How did that go for you?
Like I said, it was visiting the library. We obviously back in the 80s and pretty much into the late 90s, we didn't really have all the resources back then that we enjoy today. So, you couldn't just go into a bookstore, Barnes and Noble or whatever your, big chain bookstores are up in Canada. You couldn't just go into these places. What's that?
Barnes and Noble.
Yeah. Barnes
we
and
got
Noble.
those.
Okay. I kind of figured as much, but, like around here we have half-price books, which, is so much better than Barnes and Noble, in my opinion. But you couldn't just go into a bookstore and say, hey, can you point me in the direction of, books on ghosts and hauntings? You had to, be very lucky to find something in a bookstore, but for the most part, you went to the public library, and a lot of the books that I had read as a kid growing up were by English authors, and or Dr. Hans Holzer with his great book, The Ghost Hunter. That was one of the first books that I ever took out of the library, and a book called Haunted Houses by, I can't remember the author's first name, but the last name is Kettlecamp. And it's funny, too, because about 10 years ago, my wife found that book and bought it for me as a birthday present. So it was like a weird coming full circle for me. But, I pretty much learned everything that I could from these books, and I read them over and over and over again. And I think the librarians, they kind of thought that I was the weird kid coming in. Oh, hey, I'm looking for books on, Sasquatch. You got anything on that? And yeah, no problem. We'll take you over here to folklore, because that's what it was back then.
Right. Right. Hey, I do want to ask you, that brings up an intriguing thought. So many paranormal investigators the last 10, 12, 15 years have basically learned their way of investigating through television. You're mentioning you learned it through books. Where do you see the benefit of learning it through books rather than these reality television shows?
Well, these a lot of these authors back when I was starting to learn things, these were guys. They were philosophers. Some of them were scientists. Some of them were psychologists. So they came off more in an academic sense than what you see on television. Basically now, and I just want to make it clear, because anytime you criticize a television show or say that you don't like them, people automatically think that you're a hater. First off, we have a really crappy cable, so I don't get any of these stations that have these paranormal television shows on, and I just don't watch them anyways. But you know, I would take learning the craft, as it were, from, you know, reading the works of Hans Holzer or Peter Underwood or Elliot O'Donnell, who were men of philosophy and men of science and men of the mind. I think that they had a lot more to offer a person who wanted to approach this from more of an academic or scholarly way. Now, there's nothing wrong with the television shows. I do believe that the television shows have brought a certain amount of awareness to this, and I think that it's really, you know, opened up people's eyes and minds to the possibility that something beyond this life exists. And I think that you would agree that that's a good thing. Dave?
I totally would, eh? I totally would.
Yeah. Yeah. But the problem with the television shows is that, you know, they sort of portray investigation as being kind of like nonstop scares and action. And that's just not the way that it is. I have sat in cold, dank, dark basement. Quick story. About 12 years ago, I did an investigation in a house. And these people, they said that, I'm sorry, it was more about 10 years ago. About 10 years ago, people had said that that in their basement, this ball would move. They would see this ball move across the floor. Nobody was around. The basement floor was completely level. So there was no reason, you know, no gravity to take control here and move the ball. So we sat in this basement for 4 or 5 hours. I mean, it was just hours on end, and it was so boring. And we discovered what was moving this ball was there was a mouse. That when the lights would go off, this mouse would come out to play. And as it was running around, it would brush up against this ball and move it a little bit.
Just to let you know, we got about 30 seconds before break.
Okay, so it was a mouse that was moving this ball. But the point that I'm trying to make here is that paranormal investigation is not a scare a minute. It's not, you know, action every second. It is a lot of hours of sheer boredom waiting for something to happen from something that may or may not even be there.
Wow. That's pretty much true. Pretty much it, isn't it? I mean, if you break it down to the simplistic form, that's all it is. And I think we have a field here that likes to complicate things.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? Rick, you hold on. Yeah. We are going to go to break here. Author Rick Hale is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We'll be back with more SOR at the turn of the commercials. We'll be back.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio Live with Dave Scott on the Deep Talk Radio Network.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot THAL, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit's Story Box. The iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Hi there, this is Geraldine Orozco from San Francisco's Bay Area Meditation. I invite you to join me the first Tuesday of every month with Dave Scott for Spaced Out Radio's The Spiritual You. In this fast-paced world we live in, it's time for you to take some time for you. We'll cover every possible subject from powerful meditation to healing techniques to your own intuition and spirituality. So come join us for The Spiritual You.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Heading to Vancouver and looking for a night on the town? The Moose Vancouver is the bar that never stops rocking until 2 a.m. every night. The Moose has great food with everything on the menu from $6.95 to $8.95. Fantastic, vibrant staff and rock and roll that will bring you back to when the music was real, the hair was long, and the guitars were rocking. Get your party on at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
We're bringing scientific thought to the paranormal. Hi there, this is Spaced Out Radio scientist Chris Cogswell. Join me, Chris Zuger, and Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month, where we break down the who from the woo when it comes to everything paranormal. We'll investigate and try to bring sensible answers to those straight and sometimes outlandish questions people have. Hey, not everything has an answer, but we'll do our best. Listen in to Reality Paranormal only on Spaced Out Radio.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
A timepiece is a reflection of who you are, and what better way to show off the real you than with an Escape watch? Escape is a lifestyle brand accessorizing your days and nights. Choose to escape and create the life of discovery that you deserve. Dream, play, unite with your own personalized Escape watch. Head to escapewatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
Did you know Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi there, this is Tessa Nicole Thomas, and I'm here to take you on a paranormal journey each Saturday and Sunday night. Why change the station when you have it all right here? Together, we'll hang out and share some strange and scary stories. And don't forget, we have Psychic Sundays as well, so come tune in Spaced Out Weekend. We get going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, only at spacedoutradio.com, where we own the night. Coming soon to our website, spacedoutradio.com, is the SOR Space Travelers Club. For just $5 a month, you can get into a private area on our site where you can hang with other listeners in our chat room, post in our forum, and check out a bunch of exclusive content and store that won't be found anywhere else, including a nightly after-show party with Dave. It's going to be the best $5 a month you're going to spend. The SOR Space Travelers, only at spacedoutradio.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Are you tired of being blocked, shadow banned, or placed in jail for simply posting your thoughts on social media? Social Media Freedom can take care of that for you. Social Media Freedom is the newest and one of the best free new apps that allows you the freedom to post what you want when you want. It takes seconds to download from your app store. Come join the tribe at Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now. The Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
You know, it's hard being the bad man of ufology, but that's just the way that I like it. This is Chris George Zuger, and I'll be hanging out with Dave Scott and SOR scientist Chris Cogswell for Reality Paranormal, the second Wednesday of every month. And our job is to break it down and come to conclusions as to what is really going on in the supernatural world. I'd love for you to join us right here on Spaced Out Radio.
Welcome back to Spaced Out Radio. Tonight, I am your host, Dave Scott. Good to have you with us. We're continuing our paranormal conversation tonight with author Rick Hale. Rick, welcome back to the show.
Hey, Dave.
Now, right before the break, you were talking about a real spooky story, man. One that just gave the heebie-jeebies about your own personal experience at your grandmother's house that kicked everything off. I wanted to ask you, ever since that incident happened, has the paranormal followed you since then?
No. I am not of the mind that everywhere you go, there's going to be spirits. I've never had anything follow me. Thankfully, it's funny. Anytime I go on an investigation or as far as investigations are concerned right now, I am temporarily retired, but I'm sure I'll get back into it again one day. I was sick and, but no, I've never had anything follow me home, follow me around. It's been on an investigation by investigation basis.
Do you miss the investigations?
I do. And I really hope to, get back into it. So your listeners, understand the context of this. About 2 years ago, I was diagnosed with cancer. And as a result of that, I lost my left leg below the knee. So, I wear a prosthetic leg, now. And it took me a while to learn how to walk in it properly. And, I'm hoping that one day I can return to the field. It's just the whole idea of trying to find that time and that right niche again.
Well, I'm going to tell you this, man, from all of us at Spaced Out Radio and all of our listeners, congratulations on beating cancer, man. Good job.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it was a very rare cancer, and it's one of those kind of cancers that kills more often than not. It's funny, my smart-ass brother who lives in Phoenix, he oftentimes says that I overachieved in the area of cancer.
What a jerk! What a jerk! But that's the way brothers are supposed to be.
He's a good guy.
Awesome.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
I mean, and in reality, you got to laugh at the situation now because you did defeat it.
Sure, I did. And it's funny too because a lot of people they ask me, because whenever you hear the word cancer, you automatically think, "Oh my God, I'm going to die." Thankfully, now cancer is so much more highly treatable than what it was 20, 30 years ago. So but, you know, and I had a lot of people ask me, they're like, you know, how has this changed your mind, or how did you, or I should rather say, how did your belief in you know, the paranormal help you through that? And what was great is that if I were to die, the things that I've seen, the things that I've experienced, and things that I've heard and touched and felt, it gave me that peace, that knowing that a piece of us does exist beyond this life, that we do transcend death. And, you know, and yes, I beat it, and I continue to beat it, and I'm thankful every day that I continue to beat it. I'm thankful to my wife and to my son and to my family that I was able to beat this. But, you know, my experience as an investigator and as a researcher really gave me a lot of comfort during that time.
When you were going through this, and obviously you thought about the worst case scenario, I mean, it's something that you have to.
Sure.
Being a paranormal investigator, and I don't mean this to be snide or condescending to what you were going through, but did you think, man, if I do cross the other side, I'm coming back to haunt a whole lot of people, man?
You know what? The only thing that I would want to come back to do is to say, you know, goodbye to the people that I love, and then make that crossover to, you know, where it is that you cross over to.
Yeah, no kidding. I think there would be a lot of people I'd want to haunt.
Yeah,
I got a list. I want to be a poltergeist to, you know, my high school bully. I want to be a poltergeist to my bully boss that I had in radio.
Sure.
You know, I got a couple of people that I would love to, you know, say, okay, boys, it's time to play. But none. Go ahead.
No, but I was just going to say is to that, you know, there's one thing that I learned when I was going through all of that. One of the things that I learned was to be more forgiving, because, you know, we're always going to have people in our lives who they're always going to wrong us and say and do horrible things to us and make our lives miserable just for their sheer enjoyment. But, you know, when you go through something like that, you learn to forgive, and you learn to be a little bit more patient with people.
That life altering for you, eh?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess you could say that. But
well, I think that's incredible. I think that's incredible that you took your second chance here as a real learning opportunity. I think that's great.
Yeah. No, and I think you know, I really do believe that that's what you have to do. So, but
how did it change your look at the paranormal, man? Did it change at all?
No, not at all. If anything, you know, like I said, having my background as an investigator for a very long time, you know, really sort of like gave me that comfort that if this does decide to finish me off, then I'm going to be okay. You know, that really helped.
That's cool. That's very, very cool. When it comes to the paranormal, what do you like the most of it? What do you like the most about it? Like, what really tantalizes you when you're looking for a story?
You know, when I'm like looking as a writer, you know, when I'm researching something and I'm going to write it, I have to feel it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't just, I'm not going to just sit down and write a bunch of words and then it's going to come off like garbage. It's like, it's got to be something that I feel, something that I can relate to, something that, you know, that I can, that I understand. And I know that I can, you know, bring it across in an intelligent and yet entertaining kind of a way. But I think like feeling it is the most important part.
You write a lot about poltergeists and poltergeist activity, whether it's in blogs, writing stories, or even in one of your books.
Yeah.
What has you fascinated about poltergeist activity?
Well, the thing that has me fascinated about poltergeist activity is that I am very much an adherent to traditional parapsychology as far as poltergeists go. I don't believe poltergeists are ghosts. Although ghosts can be involved, I don't believe poltergeists are demons. I believe that poltergeist is what's called recurrent spontaneous psychokinesis, that it's basically out of control psychic energy that comes from a person, a conduit, a focus, as it were. I don't believe that it is caused strictly by ghosts. I believe that it is person-based rather than location-based.
So what exactly is a poltergeist? There's a lot of people who believe that it's rambunctious child spirits of the dark side or something demonic. What's your take on that?
Yeah. I think it's a really popular misconception because, let's face it, somebody who's going through this kind of situation, and, after I, talk about this a little bit, I'll talk about an investigation that I did, with a poltergeist. I forgot my train of thought. What was your question again?
In regards to poltergeists, what they are, what brings them around.
Okay. So, from what we've seen through a lot of cases that have occurred in the past, poltergeist can be very frightening. You have, things that are flying around your house, people being dragged out of their bed, having things thrown at them. It really is, no surprise that people think that this is something that is, an evil spirit, or this is like a, pissed off human spirit. The very first poltergeist that we know on record happened in what is present-day Germany. Back then it was called Bingen, Bavaria, and it happened to a family. They lived on a farm, and it was in 385 CE or, AD. And, all of a sudden they found that this thing was like souring milk, and it was starting fires, and it was, throwing things around and, violently doing things. And, of course, back then people were, it was still very much a very superstitious era. And they automatically, used the word poltergeist, which means noisy ghost, and talked about it in a sense that it was that it was something that was evil. But, as parapsychology progressed, they started to learn through investigating poltergeists that a person caused this energy, that this, recurrent spontaneous psychokinesis was coming from a specific person. Take, for example, the Rosenheim, Germany case back in 1967. It was a young girl. She worked in a lawyer's office. And whenever she was present, light fixtures would swing back and forth. There would be telephone calls to the date and time system, like not just a few of them, but literally thousands of these telephone calls. Electrical things like typewriters would, go on the fritz around her in her presence. Well, Hans Bender, who was one of the great parapsychologists in Germany at that time, he came in and he was able to determine that this girl, she was a 19-year-old girl, her name was Anna Marie Scheibel, whenever she was present was when these things would happen. When she wasn't present, there would be no ghost activity going on, none of this like violent activity. And she was actually fired from her job. And it was determined that while this was going on, she was having problems with her family because she was dating a guy who was incredibly abusive, an incredibly horrible person to her. So she was estranged from her family. She was in this horrible relationship, and she hated her job. So these three things, they somehow activated a psychic force that was inside of her that pushed itself out into the environment. And it was causing this activity in this lawyer's office. And as soon as she was gone, it was gone as well. And there have been several other at around the same time in Miami, in a warehouse. Whenever this young guy was present, again, he was a 20-year-old Cuban refugee, and whenever he was present, things would break. Things would fall off shelves in this warehouse, or they would go flying around. And when he was fired, well, all the activity started. So all the parapsychologists, I believe it was Dr. William Roll, who was the one that investigated what is now called the Miami poltergeist. When he investigated, he determined that this energy was coming from this young man, and it was pushing itself out into the environment and causing just all kinds of chaos.
Wow. So are you believing then that these poltergeists would be a spiritual attachment to whomever is carrying it, or do you believe then that that person is the poltergeist themselves?
Unwittingly, yes, they themselves are the poltergeist. Now, allow me to say this. There have been a few poltergeist cases where people have seen apparitions. Okay? The Black Monk of Pontefract in the 1960s in Pontefract, United Kingdom. There was, your garden variety, typical everyday poltergeist type of activity that was happening in this house. And then people started seeing this, what they described as being a black monk-like figure in a robe, seeing it around the house. In the Enfield case, they were having communications with this spirit named Bob. That was, that was actually speaking through Janet, who was considered to be the poltergeist conduit or focus in this. And in my opinion, I think what happens is that this energy is so great that it can either drag in transient spirits or can give life to existing spirit activity that may be, lying dormant in the house, or just doesn't really have the energy that it needs to manifest itself, and that this energy that is expelled by this conduit of the recurrent spontaneous psychokinesis, like I said, either draws in or gives life to these things.
We only got about 3 minutes here before we have to go to our break at the top of the hour. Rick, this absolutely amazes me because, in my opinion, everything I had ever heard about poltergeist was that it was some sort of demonic activity. But the way you're breaking it down, that it's a person who is creating it for themselves, does that mean they're their own tulpa, that they are their own... their own spirit is larger than life and has the ability to affect what they are doing and the people around them on a daily basis?
Absolutely. And also there's another theory concerning these, apparitions that are seen during a poltergeist case, that they are in effect a thought form or a tulpa that is being created by the psyche of the person that is expelling this latent psychic energy into the environment. And they're actually projecting this spirit made in their own mind through this psychokinesis into the physical environment.
So with that, how does one cleanse themselves of such destruction?
Well, Nandor Fodor, who was a great 20th century parapsychologist, he believed that a person could actually receive therapy, and that would help them kind of like get rid of these feelings of anxiety that was causing this psychic explosion in the physical environment. And I know we only have a couple more seconds, and I actually have an interesting story.
We got about 90 seconds, man. So feel free.
Okay. So I get a phone call from a friend of mine, and she tells me that she's been talking to this woman who is having this, really super intense poltergeist type activity in her home. Now, she had just gotten out of this really horrible relationship with a husband. He was an alcoholic, he was a drug addict. He was incredibly abusive to him and their daughter, who was autistic. And she was a special needs child. So finally, this woman, she had had enough, and she left her husband, and she was living in this house, and she's having like this intense activity going on. Things flying around the house, this huge wind, a gust of wind that would blow through for absolutely no reason whatsoever. So she has this paranormal investigation group come into her house. And while they're in her house, she tells this woman that her house is infested with demons, and that her autistic daughter, this special needs child, she's disabled, that she is possessed by the devil.
Well, that's not very nice to say about one's child.
I don't believe I've ever been so mad in my entire life as I was at that moment, that this kind of irresponsibility caused this unnecessary fear. So, talking to this woman and finding out a little bit more what was going on, it really occurred to me that no, she didn't have demons. No, she didn't have vengeful ghosts that were in her house trying to cause her problems. She was the conduit of this recurrent spontaneous psychokinesis. She herself was causing this, unwittingly causing this. And I had to explain, the situation and what I thought was going on. So I told her, I'm like,
Rick, I'm going to get you to hold on. I'm going to get you to hold on right there, my friend, because we got to step out. I want to continue this right after the break. Rick Hale, our guest on Spaced Out Radio, hour number 2, coming up right after this. Heading to Vancouver and looking for a night on the town? The Moose Vancouver is the bar that never stops rocking until 2 a.m. every night. The Moose has great food with everything on the menu from $6.95 to $8.95. Fantastic, vibrant staff and rock and roll that will bring you back to when the music was real, the hair was long, and the guitars were rocking. Get your party on at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot THAL, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother Is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio Live with Dave Scott on the Deep Talk Radio Network.
Find your escape where time has no limits. It's about living today and cherishing the heritage of yesterday. A spirit of adventure for what is new with the nostalgia of the past. Your timepiece is a reflection of who you are. Life surrounded by beauty from the world around us to the soul within. EscapeWatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
Do you want to know what's really going on in your world? Do you have questions about who you can trust in the mainstream media? Then look no further than the Rebel Planet. Come get the straight answers right here at spacedoutradio.com. Join me, Jamie Sexton, creator of Rebel Planet News, as I fill you in on the stories behind the stories. All you truth seekers, be sure to tune in to Rebel Planet on spacedoutradio.com the third Thursday of every month.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
The Call of the Wild is in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is one of the hottest bars and restaurants in the city. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose will rock you like a hurricane all night long. Great food with everything on the menu at $6.95 near the corner of Nelson and Granville. Get your horns up and come rock with us. The Moose Vancouver, the official rocking bar of Spaced Out Radio.
You know, it's hard being the bad man of ufology, but that's just the way that I like it. This is Chris George Zuger, and I'll be hanging out with Dave Scott and SOR scientist Chris Cogswell for Reality Paranormal, the second Wednesday of every month. And our job is to break it down and come to conclusions as to what is really going on in the supernatural world. I'd love for you to join us right here on Spaced Out Radio.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
We are getting ready to relaunch the SOR Space Travelers Club at spacedoutradio.com. For $5 a month, you can join us for a plethora of features found nowhere else. Hang out in a private chat room during the show and after party. You can check out some exclusive content and a store specifically for you, as well as a private listener forum where you can post your thoughts, stories, and pictures. The SOR Space Travelers Club, coming soon to spacedoutradio.com.
Get your horns up with me on Spaced Out Radio. This is Ron Bumblefoot THAL. Come tune in to SOR where you can hear me rock out with Little Brother Is Watching, the official theme song of Spaced Out Radio. And then come on over to bumblefoot.com where you can find out about my tour schedule, my music, and everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing and the best way to stay in touch with my music and music camps. Sign up for my newsletter at bumblefoot.com and remember, Little Brother Is Watching.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Hey, this is Canadian Paranormal Investigator Mike Moore. The third Wednesday of every month, I'll be teaming up with Dave Scott to bring you Ghosts of the Great White North. Each month, we will bring on guests from across Canada to discuss their ghostly encounters. Canada is a paranormal hotbed with stories you've never heard, so we're going to bring them to you. So get comfy on your Chesterfield, grab a donut, and join us, eh?
On the first Tuesday of every month, I encourage you to come along for a journey with me, Geraldine Orozco, on The Spiritual You. Together, we will take a look at how to access the highest expression of yourself and change your life. Consciousness, ET contact, health, and wellness, we can talk about it all. So come along for a spiritual ride with me, Geraldine Orozco, on The Spiritual You, only on Spaced Out Radio.
The freedom to post what you want, when you want. That's the social media freedom you need. Social Media Freedom is the free app in your app store. No need to worry about going to jail or being shadow banned any longer. It's the freedom to say what you feel. The freedom to know Big Brother isn't watching. It's the way social media is supposed to be. Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free. Download from your app store today.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio. Tonight, I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for being with us. Tomorrow night on the show, it's the final Friday of the month, which means I'll bring in some friends for the SOR Paranormal Roundtable, looking at the month that was. We get going at 9:06 Pacific, 12:06 Eastern at spacedoutradio.com. We welcome back everyone listening in on the SOR Radio Network and Deep Talk Radio. Don't forget, all of our archives are free for you at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. Bill Cardwell has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. And Bill, it's not even Friday. This isn't even funny. Uvolopalato-pharyngoplasty. Uvolopalato-pharyngoplasty is your password. Be sure you use it wisely, space travelers, as Bill sets the password each and every night right here on the mighty SOR. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. You can rock out to Bumblefoot. Soon, shop at our brand new Spaced Out Radio store, where, yes, you will have a toque. Yes, there will be toques for the Canadians, beanies for you Americans. And we got our news section, the SOR Newswire. You can check out that and read up on that and so much more. Tonight we are talking with paranormal author Rick Hale. We're getting into poltergeists, as we were right before the break. And Rick, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Really appreciate you taking the time.
Hey, Dave, no problem. It's my pleasure.
When most people think of poltergeist, they think of demons as well. And right before the break, you were talking about how a lot of people believe that this is the fact, is the case. And yet you are saying that maybe it's the person who's attached to it instead, which I find very, very chilling indeed. Why do you think somebody would be attached to such, I'm going to call it, for lack of a better term, evil grandeur?
Well, you know, like I was saying, I was telling you the story about the investigation that I did, and I didn't even have to go to this lady's house. I did this all over the phone, and you know, I was, as I mentioned, Nandor Fodor, who was a one of the great 20th century investigators in parapsychology, and he believed that therapy, talking out your problems, could actually, help alleviate this this out of control psychic energy. So with this woman that, she had a ghost investigation crew come in, say their house was infested by demon, and that her child was possessed by the devil, who, I might add, was autistic. So I had the idea. I'm like, why don't you, after explaining to her what a poltergeist was and how I believed that she was an unwitting conduit of this energy, I explained to her, I'm like, well, why don't you go and, talk to somebody, like a therapist or a licensed clinical social worker? And she did. She took my advice, and she did. Within 2 weeks of her talking about all the stress and distress and terrible things in her life, the activity in her home was over. it ended within 2 weeks. She was able to get off of her chest all the things that was wrong in her life. And I do believe that this is an unexplained energy that comes from us, and it's rare. It's not as common as people would, like to think that it is. And and with my experience with this, what I believe was a poltergeist, I really do think that, talking out your problems can actually do something about it.
So do you think therapy helps calm down poltergeist activity?
Nander Fodor did. After this, situation that I had dealt with, I'm a believer in that now. I just think that it's a way of getting, things that are distressing you off your chest. We were talking a little bit. For 16 years, I worked in the mental health field, and I worked with kids who had behavioral disorders, and and that came from abusive backgrounds. And I never saw any kind of, if any kind of poltergeist activity is going to come, it's going to come from one of these kids. Although there was a story that I did hear about that before I had even started there. And I do believe in the power of the mind, and I do believe that the human mind is a very strong thing, but it's very easily broken, and it's very easily distressed and stressed out. And in some rare instances, it can actually cause this out-of-control psychic force that we call poltergeists. But in traditional parapsychology, it's called recurrent spontaneous psychokinesis.
Where do the demons come into play?
I don't think they come into play. I just really don't. I mean, I know that, I'm not going to say that I don't believe in it, because, like I tell people, that I don't think that we know enough about the spirit realm, the spirit world, or whatever, to make a definitive conclusion on the subject. But I don't believe it's as common as, certain irresponsible elements within the paranormal community right now would lead us to believe.
The paranormal field, up until about a year ago, for a couple of years, was absolutely filled with so-called demonologists.
Yes.
Demons were everywhere. Demons were, not only in your house, in your shower, in your garage, in your, attached to your lawnmower, whatever it could be. Demons everywhere. And all of a sudden, these demonologists were popping out of the woodworks, left, right, and center.
Yeah.
Are there that many demons out there, Rick?
It's one of those things is like, man, I don't know, and I would not want to get into the mind of something like that, because I think it could be very dangerous. But first off, the word demonology is a misnomer. It is a misconception. And it's actually based in, and I'm sure that, I'm probably going to get hate mail because of this, but it was based in the Warrens in the 1950s. They like to call themselves, demonologist or religious demonologist. And, demonology actually has its origins in medieval Europe, in black magic and necromancy, the study of demons. That's basically what it means. Now, in the Catholic Church, it is actually underneath angelology, and that's what is taught in Catholic seminaries. And, the word demonology, it's like, wow, that's kind of, for whatever reason, is sexy. I mean, I'm a demonologist. I'm going to take care of your demons. And it's like, there are only a handful of qualified individuals to deal with this kind of phenomena. And they are clergy. I'm not clergy. I really have very little interest in dealing with religious-based phenomena. If I think that there is something that is a religious-based phenomena, then I am going to seek out a person who can, help that person with, if, in the off chance that they are actually dealing with legit demons. But that's not me. That I am not qualified to deal with that kind of a situation.
So what about people who claim they do, whether they're reality television stars, or my favorite was this, scrolling through some of these paranormal groups where this 22-year-old kid was claiming that he had been a demonologist for 5 years.
For 5 years, that's impressive. I mean, it takes at least 10 to 12 years studying underneath an actual exorcist in the Roman Catholic Church before you can even consider going along on an exorcism. There are rules that have been set in play by people who do deal with religious-based pheromena. These people that call themselves demonologists are are we permitted to use cuss words on this show?
No, because we are going terrestrial.
Gotcha. Okay, so they're full of bull. And I'm just going to lay it on the line and say that that's exactly what it is. They are full of bull. They have learned this from a television show, or they have learned this from some stuff that they saw on the internet. I'm sorry, it's not happening. They're just not legit. They are misrepresenting themselves, and they are being an irresponsible representative of the paranormal field.
Is that what makes the paranormal field look like such a joke, is when you see things like that? I mean, to me, it's just ridiculous. Like, when I think of a demonologist, I think of somebody who is represented by clergy or something along those lines, and I don't get it. Is it the popularity? Because let's face it, if you're single, you go into the bar and somebody says, well, what do you do? Well, I'm a demonologist. I mean, it's a good pickup line.
That's probably one of the best. I've never been a pickup artist or the kind of person that goes into bars and stuff like that. So, but yeah, I mean, to some people, that sounds really super impressive. And when you're out there in the field and you're investigating people's homes and you call yourself a demonologist, the normal person that is not involved in this field, they're not going to understand how full of BS you really are. They're going to be like, oh, well, this person must know what they're talking about. They claim to have this kind of experience. And, it's, like I said, it is being an irresponsible investigator. And I'm I'm very glad that this fascination with this is beginning to sort of fall by the wayside, and I hope that it goes as far to the wayside as possible, and then maybe we can get back to actually trying to understand the transcending of consciousness of the human mind, beyond death.
Have you ever dealt with any demons yourself?
No, never. And now this is, my first investigation was in September of 1991. So I have, 27 years of doing investigations. And I've come across some stuff that's very strange. But I've never come across anything where I could look at it and say, yep, that's a demon. You got a demon. You are in deep doo-doo here, as far as, like a spiritual being that has never walked the earth as a human. I've never dealt with that. And, when you watch a certain, television show or certain television shows, and they're coming across something like this every week or every other week or once a month, it's like, man, the laws of averages is just really being blown out of the water there. Because if myself, as a 27-year veteran of this, and I know many other people who have been involved in this prior to 2004, be like, man, I've never dealt with anything like that, and I don't know anybody who has. So there is no conceivable way that somebody is dealing with something like that as often as some of these irresponsible investigators claim, or these, irresponsible television shows try to push this stuff on the public.
Yeah, and in the end, that's what gives the paranormal field a black eye, is when there is that overreaction.
Yeah.
But people love the darkness, Rick. You can't blame them. The darkness, the scare factor, the chance of being frightened, that's the rush.
Sure.
You can't blame them for that.
No, you can't. And I'm not going to fault anybody for that. But if you're going to call yourself an investigator and you're going to go into people's homes and try to either, try to teach them how to live with what it is that they're dealing with, the last thing that you should be doing is going in there and unnecessarily scaring people. I think that is a very irresponsible investigator. Our job as investigators and researchers of anomalous phenomenon are to try and understand this and not only enlighten ourselves about the subject, but enlighten those people that, we claim to be helping. And that was one of the funniest things I've ever seen was, watching old episodes of Ghost Hunters, and they go to somebody's house and they knock on the door and like, hi, we're so, Grant and, whomever, we're here to help. Well, are you really there to help? Help people, don't scare them.
Yeah. Yeah, we have mentioned that beef numerous times here on this show. Sure. Numerous times. And it's a fine line. It's a fine line because so many people use this as entertainment for themselves. Right. They're not interested in solving anything. It's all about entertainment for themselves. And that's what's scary. That's what's eerie and dangerous. Yeah. More so dangerous.
It's very irresponsible.
Absolutely. But when it comes to demons, what's the case that's really caught your attention?
God, you try and racking your brain, thinking about all the things that I've read and all the, even some of the things that I've even written about. And it's like, man, I cannot look at any one thing and just say, that's a demon. Again, and I'm just being honest, and I think that's what this field needs right now is it just needs honesty. It's like, I don't know, or, you know what, I may not know, but I'm willing to find out. But it's like, as far as demons are concerned, I've never come across anything. I don't know anybody who's ever come across anything that I would, legit say, that's a demon. I would be irresponsible saying something like that. Or rather, I would be irresponsible in saying that, well, this is what I think it is, because, I just, whether or not I believe in them, that is my personal opinion. But like I said, as far as religious phenomena is concerned, man, that's just not my field of expertise, and I'm not qualified to deal with it. And that's just being honest.
Is there a story, though, as we got about 3 minutes to go to break here, that really sticks out for you on the demons that you could share with the audience?
Well, a lot of people, they say that that the story that The Exorcist is based on. In 1947, a young boy, he's gone by different names, but the most popular one name that he went by is Robert Mannheim. And there appeared to be signs that pointed that they may have been dealing with an actual, real, inhuman spirit. And if there is any story that is out there that I could say that there is a possibility that they were dealing with something of that nature, I would say that that's the one.
Yeah, that one was chilling. Was absolutely chilling. What about Ouija boards? Do you think they are there to conjure up the devil and his minions?
It's really funny. I talked to colleagues of mine on and across the Atlantic in England, and in the United Kingdom with investigators, a Ouija board is pretty much part of all of their kits that they use. And over there, it's like, because they're a much more secular country than we are. I think that there's a lot of stories that are out there. You see a lot of stuff on YouTube. You see stories that start with, well, my cousin's best friend's uncle's girlfriend said this happened when dealing with a Ouija board. One of my favorite stories concerning a Ouija board happened in Mexico a few years ago. Now, this girl, she was playing with the Ouija board, and all of a sudden she had become spontaneously possessed. And when the ambulance came to take her away, she was actually able to break from her bonds, and she pretty much beat the hell out of the ambulance staff. What they failed to tell you that before doing this Ouija board, she had ingested a whole bunch of hallucinogenic drugs.
Oh, nice. And that's a good combination.
Yeah, one of those drugs was PCP. Now, as we all know, with PCP, not only is it a hallucinogen, but it could also make you believe that people on PCP have shown amazing feats of strength. And I don't believe that this girl was possessed by demons.
Right.
I believe that she was having a drug-induced psychotic episode.
That makes sense. My friend, I'm going to have to cut you off right there because we are literally about to go to break here in just a couple of seconds. Author Rick Hale is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We're going to have Rick back for another hour here. Hope you enjoy some spooky stories we're going to get into on the show as well. We'll be back with more Spaced Out Radio right after this.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio Live with Dave Scott on the Deep Talk Radio Network.
Are you tired of being blocked, shadow banned, or placed in jail for simply posting your thoughts on social media? Social Media Freedom can take care of that for you. Social Media Freedom is the newest and one of the best free new apps that allows you the freedom to post what you want, when you want. It takes seconds to download from your app store, Come join the tribe at Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot THAL, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Coming soon to our website, spacedoutradio.com, is the SOR Space Travelers Club. For just $5 a month, you can get into a private area on our site where you can hang with other listeners in our chat room, post in our forum, and check out a bunch of exclusive content and store that won't be found anywhere else, including a nightly after-show party with Dave. It's going to be the best $5 a month you're going to spend. The SOR Space Travelers, only at spacedoutradio.com.
We're bringing scientific thought to the paranormal. Hi there, this is Spaced Out Radio scientist Chris Cogswell. Join me, Chris Zuger, and Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month, where we break down the who from the woo when it comes to everything paranormal. We'll investigate and try to bring sensible answers to those straight and sometimes outlandish questions people have. Hey, not everything is an answer, but we'll do our best. Listen in to Reality Paranormal only on Spaced Out Radio.
Did you know Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi there, this is Tessa Nicole Thomas, and I'm here to take you on a paranormal journey each Saturday and Sunday night. Why change the station when you have it all right here? Together, we'll hang out and share some strange and scary stories. And don't forget, we have Psychic Sundays as well, so come tune in Spaced Out Weekend. We get going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, only at spacedoutradio.com, where we own the night.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
You know, it's hard being the bad man of ufology, but that's just the way that I like it. This is Chris George Zuger, and I'll be hanging out with Dave Scott and SOR scientist Chris Cogswell for Reality Paranormal, the second Wednesday of every month. And our job is to break it down and come to conclusions as to what is really going on in the supernatural world. I'd love for you to join us right here on Spaced Out Radio.
A timepiece is a reflection of who you are, and what better way to show off the real you than with an Escape watch? Escape is a lifestyle brand accessorizing your days and nights. Choose to escape and create the life of discovery that you deserve. Dream, play, unite with your own personalized Escape watch. Head to escapewatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
Heading to Vancouver and looking for a night on the town? The Moose Vancouver is the bar that never stops rocking until 2 a.m. every night. The Moose has great food with everything on the menu from $6.95 to $8.95. Fantastic, vibrant staff and rock and roll that will bring you back to when the music was real, the hair was long, and the guitars were rocking. Get your party on at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Hi there, this is Geraldine Orozco from San Francisco's Bay Area Meditation. I invite you to join me the first Tuesday of every month with Dave Scott for Spaced Out Radio's The Spiritual You. In this fast-paced world we live in, it's time for you to take some time for you. We'll cover every possible subject from powerful meditation to healing techniques to your own intuition and spirituality. So come join us for The Spiritual You.
Welcome back to Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Good to have you with us. We are talking with author Rick Hale. We're talking all things paranormal tonight. Rick, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, Dave, thank you.
Hey, right before the break, we were talking about the whole demon aspect, the way it's blown out of proportion. And, you know, I think even during the break, you and I were talking about there are certain aspects of the paranormal field, if we're just sticking with ghosts here, that really needs a cleansing. If you could change one thing about paranormal investigation or this entire field in general, what would it be?
Drama and ego. I really think that, you know, this is not going to make you famous. This is not, you know, that ship has pretty much sailed. And I think that we need to get away from the success that some people have had. And believe me, I am not the kind of person that would ever begrudge somebody their success. I think that is a real jerk that does that kind of thing. But I think that, you know, it's like I was saying, like I was involved in a Facebook thread earlier about this, and you have like this field with all these people running around trying to prove that the same thing exists while trying to prove each other wrong. And that's just, I think that makes us all look bad. That makes us all look like we are all driven by ego. You know, like I was telling you, you know, like for me, for example, yes, I've written 2 books. Yes, I've, you know, written a lot of articles. But it's like, it's something that you have to enjoy doing. It can't, but it can't be the driving force of your life. Like I've never said, you know, that doing television or documentaries or anything like that was off the table, because it's not. But it's like, that cannot be the driving force of your life. You have to do this field because you are truly interested in finding answers. You know, it's like I used to tell people, if you're looking for excitement, join the Marines. If you are looking for a thrill, go to a strip club. If you're looking for a good scare, go to my parents' house for dinner on a Sunday night. That will scare the hell out of anyone. But if you are sincerely seeking to answer some of life's greatest questions, a question that we've all had: what happens to me when I die? Every single living soul has thought that has ever walked the face of this planet since before the days that we dropped the tail and fell from the trees. We have all thought this. And if you're looking to answer these questions, then by all means, man, stay in this field and be a responsible investigator in it.
How much, though, has social media played in almost, I'll call it the self-destruction of the paranormal field?
See, back in the 90s, it was great. We didn't have social media. The internet was still in its infancy. Personally, I thought I was the only person at the time running around doing this kind of stuff that didn't have a PhD attached to their name. And there was less of us back then investigating. So the field was a little bit more, a lot more open. But now with like social media, now with the internet, and don't get me wrong, I like social media. I'll be the first person. I'm not like addicted to it, but I like it. It's fun, and I use it to, stay in touch with people. And but I think that social media has sort of been, it's a war zone, especially as it pertains to the paranormal, because 20 years ago, you may have had one or two paranormal groups that were in a city, especially the size, a city like Chicago. Nowadays, you have dozens, and they're all on social media, and they're all downing each other rather than trying to come together. Like, people use this term, para-unity. I mean, it looks good on paper, man, but when it's put into practical use, it falls pretty much short. And we find a lot of that in social media and on the internet. People are just talking just trash about each other, and it's embarrassing. And you should be embarrassed too to be acting like that. I'm not trying to wag my finger at people, but it's man, get it together, drop the ego, and try and work together with other people. And try and understand where that other person is coming from. You may not like the way that they do things, but that doesn't mean that you have to trash them all over social media. And it happens. You know that, Dave.
Oh, true enough. True enough. It's ugly out there. It's absolutely ugly. And for our listeners who may be not associated with paranormal on social media, just go look at any of these paranormal groups. It is thoroughly disgusting. The keyboard warriors are literally going 24/7.
Mm-hmm. Dave, I can guarantee you, I will. By next week, I can go to you. I can probably share with you. I will receive at least one email or one Facebook message where somebody's like, "I didn't like that you said that about that," and then go into amazing detail. Okay, when I was the host of Paranormal Underground Radio back, 4 or 5 years ago, I did it for a few years, and I dared, oh my God, the temerity of it, I dared to question Zach Bagans on the show, which was something that I used to do quite a bit. So I get this email from this 22-year-old girl, and she's telling me about how horrible I am for paranormal unity and how I need to get out of the field because, we don't need me talking, bad things about her hero, Zach Bagans. Now, this is not my finest moment, Dave. But I'm going to tell you what I said to this, what I sent back in an email. And I feel bad about it today. And, I told her, I was like, I'm going to tell you something. Before you were shot out of your dad, out of your dad, I had already done 2 or 3 investigations. So you cannot come to me and tell me about how crappy I am as an investigator or as a researcher when I've been in this field longer than you've been alive. It's like, I'm sorry that I said something horrible about your hero, Zach Bagans. But what he said on the show that night was irresponsible.
Yeah, no kidding.
And I never heard back from her. Like I said, I feel horrible about what I said. It was rude and it was crude, but it's like, man, do not send me an email swearing at me because I criticized your hero.
But that's the way it is, though. It's the same thing, and I'll put a critique out there. It's nothing my audience hasn't heard before, but it's the same thing with these TAPS groups, this TAPS family, not to criticize what Jason Hawes and Grant did to put together and put, the paranormal on the map, especially on television. But some of these TAPS groups, I mean, going into residences to prove or disprove it's haunted, how does that help clients?
No, it really doesn't.
Not showing the evidence that you get when a client invites you into their house. How does that help them?
It doesn't. And, we were talking about that when we were on break. I do not go into a person's home, and I do not go in there thinking that they're either lying to me, they're a drug addict, or they're a crazy person. Now, I've come across all three, but I don't go into a person's house thinking that there are one of these three things. My job as an investigator of anomalous phenomena, parapsychology, whatever you choose to call it, my job is to go into your house because you invited me there, hear your story, and then investigate appropriately. Now, if I can find something,
Did we lose you? I think we lost you there for a couple seconds. Got to figure out where Rick went. I have no idea where Rick went. Maybe the ghosts got him. It's all that poltergeist talk. Hopefully his phone comes back on. He's not even using Skype. He's actually on his own home line. Wonder what's going on.
Am I being messed with?
Oh, there you are. Good to have you back.
Oh.
Where'd you go?
Okay, I have no idea. That's so weird.
Yeah, we lost you for about 20 seconds.
Okay. So anyways, my job as an investigator, like I was saying before, I fell into the parallel universe there. My job is to come into your home, hear your story, and investigate appropriately. If I can find something that, that's a real world kind of thing, like my mouse story earlier, I'm going to tell you that. But if I find something in your house that is that I believe is actual spirit activity, I'm going to tell you that as well. And I think that is what a responsible investigator has to do. You have to be there to listen to the story and investigate appropriately.
Define appropriately, because so many different people have so many different definitions on that.
Discreetly. I am a big believer in being very discreet when I am in a person's home. Like I said before, typically I have a very broad vocabulary, very colorful vocabulary. But if I'm in your house, I'm not going to use swear words. Like, I've actually gone into people's homes where they will say to me, please don't use swear words, or please don't provoke our ghosts. We still have to live with them. And it's like, that's not being appropriate. That's not being discreet. That's trying to gain ratings on a television show that you don't have. That's what I mean. I mean, being discreet, being appropriate in a person's home.
I want to ask you about some of these stories that you have written on, because you've written some pretty detailed accounts on some of these stories that you've posted for SpookyIsles.com. I'm just going to give that website once again, spookyisles.com. That's ISLES, like islands, isles. Anyways, there's a couple here that I did want to ask you about, because you do a lot of work with a lot of strange happenings over in the United Kingdom.
Yeah.
Why do you write about what's over there rather than here in North America?
A lot of it has to do with because I got a real love for the English ghost story. Like I said, when I was a kid growing up, when I first got interested in this, most of the authors that I read and studied their work and their methods were English authors. Peter Underwood or Elliot O'Donnell or Guy Lyon Playfair. These were the individuals that I grew up in the field appreciating their work, and they were all British authors. So, I got like a real, early appreciation of the British ghost story at a very early age. So, and I think that I've just always carried that with me throughout my life. I've never been to the United Kingdom or Ireland. Never been. The only country that I've ever been to outside of the United States was the Dominican Republic. And I was born in, if you want to count it, I was born in Germany, but my parents were American, so. But so when I was a kid, that was what I had.
So when you look at some of these stories, like you wrote an article about Discover London's creepiest, most haunted museums. Well, their museums are a couple hundred years old for the most part, if not older. There's got to be thousands of ghosts. Thousands of ghosts in there.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that, I was on Ghost Chronicles International, talking with Ron Kolick, who's an American investigator, and Steve Parsons, who's a parapsychologist over in England. And I was on their show on Tuesday, and with a lot of these are just stories. Some of these places, and a lot of these places, yes, they are really haunted, but a lot of these ghost stories have, it's sort of been like a game of telephone. You sit around and you tell one person one thing, and then they tell it, and so forth and so on. And by the time it gets from you to that last person, the story has completely changed. And that's kind of what happens with these places that are, we don't get too many 600-year-old castles here in Chicago. So, but that's what's happened to a lot of these places, that there was something there at one time, and the stories have just been embellished, a little bit over the years. But that's part of the storytelling process and keeping these stories alive. There is a speck of truth, but you got to kind of try to find that truth.
We only got about 4 minutes before we got to go to break here at the top of the hour, as this show continues to fly by. When you look at these museums, let's look at your article with the museums there. Are there a couple of ghosts there that just reside, and, are people getting scared there, or are they just joining the tourists for the tour? Or is it like the movie A Night at the Museum, where everything comes alive once everyone is gone?
I think that there are, that there may be, actual spirit activity. I know one of the places that I spoke of, with the Ragged School, which was in, on London's West End, which, back in the 18th century was a really rough place. You could just get your throat slit walking down the street at 2:00 in the morning if you were brave enough to do that. It's like the Ragged School which was it was the first of its kind in that area of London, where it brought in the very underprivileged and underserved children of that area, and gave them an education. And I think that there is, when it comes to something like that, there is a lot of energy and a lot of emotion that is put in to an environment. And here in the United States, they use the term residual haunting. Over in England, they use the term called the stone tape theory, that the building materials, they actually absorb this energy and this emotion and replays it. And I think that that's what you have with a lot of these places like the Ragged School, or even in Hampton Court Palace. You have like these really intense situations that have been recorded in the physical environment and play itself. I know, like in Hampton Court Palace, for example, the Jane Seymour, she goes cruising down down this long hall, screaming her head off because she's on her way of getting her head taken off. And people that are like, we hear this woman screaming. Now, is that expectation, or is there something really there? I think that there is something really there, but there is also the expectation of something happening. And I think, with stuff like that, that is, the stone tape theory or residual haunting.
Does it only happen when, or because the United States is younger than, say, England, where these ghosts have about 1,000+ years of history?
No, I think that, I've actually done investigations in homes that were newer homes than not. And I think that's because that whatever was in that home, haunting it, was more associated with the land than it was with the home. And I've actually, I have done some investigations where, there would be a stone tape theory or residual haunt. Actually, a lot more often than you might think. Right. And, so I think that, that kind of like residual sort of haunting is more common than dealing with an actual apparition, like a spirit that is fully conscious and intelligent.
My friend, we got to hold it right there. We're going to go to break here. We got Rick Hale for one more half hour before we get to the news at the bottom. Hour number 3 on Spaced Out Radio coming up next.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot THAL, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Heading to Vancouver and looking for a night on the town? The Moose Vancouver is the bar that never stops rocking until 2 a.m. every night. The Moose has great food with everything on the menu from $6.95 to $8.95. Fantastic, vibrant staff and rock and roll that will bring you back to when the music was real, the hair was long, and the guitars were rocking. Get your party on at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio Live with Dave Scott on the Deep Talk Radio Network.
Hey, this is Canadian Paranormal Investigator Mike Moore. The third Wednesday of every month, I'll be teaming up with Dave Scott to bring you Ghosts of the Great White North. Each month, we will bring on guests from across Canada to discuss their ghostly encounters. Canada is a paranormal hotbed with stories you've never heard, so we're going to bring them to you. So get comfy on your Chesterfield, grab a donut, and join us, eh?
Do you want to know what's really going on in your world? Do you have questions about who you can trust in the mainstream media? Then look no further than the Rebel Planet. Come get the straight answers right here at spacedoutradio.com. Join me, Jamie Sexton, creator of Rebel Planet News, as I fill you in on the stories behind the stories. All you truth seekers, be sure to tune in to Rebel Planet on spacedoutradio.com the third Thursday of every month.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
The freedom to post what you want, when you want. That's the social media freedom you need. Social Media Freedom is the free app in your app store. No need to worry about going to jail or being shadow banned any longer. It's the freedom to say what you feel. The freedom to know Big Brother isn't watching. It's the way social media is supposed to be. Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free. Download from your app store today.
Find your escape where time has no limits. It's about living today and cherishing the heritage of yesterday. A spirit of adventure for what is new, with the nostalgia of the past. Your timepiece is a reflection of who you are. Life surrounded by beauty from the world around us to the soul within. EscapeWatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Get your horns up with me on Spaced Out Radio. This is Ron Bumblefoot THAL. Come tune in to SOR where you can hear me rock out with Little Brother is Watching, the official theme song of Spaced Out Radio. And then come on over to bumblefoot.com where you can find out about my tour schedule, my music, and everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing and the best way to stay in touch with my music and music camps. Sign up for my newsletter at bumblefoot.com and remember, Little Brother is Watching.
The Call of the Wild is in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is one of the hottest bars and restaurants in the city. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose will rock you like a hurricane all night long. Great food with everything on the menu at $6.95 near the corner of Nelson and Granville. Get your horns up and come rock with us. The Moose Vancouver, the official rocking bar of Spaced Out Radio.
You know, it's hard being the bad man of ufology, but that's just the way that I like it. This is Chris George Zuger, and I'll be hanging out with Dave Scott and SOR scientist Chris Cogswell for Reality Paranormal, the second Wednesday of every month. And our job is to break it down and come to conclusions as to what is really going on in the supernatural world. I'd love for you to join us right here on Spaced Out Radio.
We are getting ready to relaunch the SOR Space Travelers Club at spacedoutradio.com. For $5 a month, you can join us for a plethora of features found nowhere else. Hang out in a private chat room during the show and after party. You can check out some exclusive content and a store specifically for you, as well as a private listener forum where you can post your thoughts, stories, and pictures. The SOR Space Travelers Club, coming soon to spacedoutradio.com.
On the first Tuesday of every month, I encourage you to come along for a journey with me, Geraldine Orozco, on The Spiritual You. Together, we will take a look at how to access the highest expression of yourself and change your life. Consciousness, ET contact, health, and wellness, we can talk about it all. So come along for a spiritual ride with me, Geraldine Orozco, on The Spiritual You, only on Spaced Out Radio.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Welcome back to the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio. Tonight, I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for being with us. Tomorrow night on the program, it's the final Friday of the month, which means it's time again for the SOR Paranormal Roundtable, looking at the month that was. We get going at our new start time, 9:06 Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern at spacedoutradio.com. We welcome back everyone listening in on the SOR Radio Network and Deep Talk Radio. Thank you so much for tuning us in. Don't forget, you can listen to all of our archives for free at youtube.com/spacedoutradio. Do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. Bill Cardwell has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Uvolo Palo... Oh, I already blew it. Uvolopalato-pharyngoplasty. Yes, apparently this is a word. Uvolopalato-pharyngoplasty is your password. Make sure you use it wisely, space travelers, because Bill sets the password each and every night right here on the mighty SOR. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. You can rock out to Bumblefoot. Soon you can shop at our brand new Spaced Out Radio store. Read up on the news section, the SOR Newswire. Just click on the news on our website, and so much more. For the final time tonight, we introduce a great guest, author Rick Hale, talking all things paranormal and spooky tonight as we draw closer to Halloween. Rick, welcome back.
Thanks, Dave.
I want to hear a scary story, man. Freak out our audience a little bit. What's the most intriguing, creepy story that's happened to you?
You know, I would have to say that my first investigation that I ever did was definitely had the creep factor involved, and you know, it was in September of 1991. I was 17 years old. And, you know, my first investigation had happened quite by accident. A friend of mine who was an older woman, I was actually friends with her kids. She was she's an evangelical Christian, and she was involved in a ministry that helped teenagers escape from the occult and from cults. And I got a call one night, and I was spending time with my girlfriend, so it was like, you know, I had to, you know, I took her home so I could, you know, go to my friend's house for this. Her name was Denise. She called me up, Denise, and she's like, you know, I've got this weird situation right now, and I know that you're interested in this kind of thing. So I asked her, I'm like, all right, what is it that you have, you know, going on? And she had this young girl come into her home that she helped escape from a very bad situation. Her name was Tina. Well, we'll call her Tina. And ever since Tina had come into her home, there were strange things going on. So, of course, I'm like, my interest is now, boom, it's peaked, man. And I'm like, well, tell me what's going on. She's like, I've seen weird shadows moving around the house. And, like this feeling of cold when it shouldn't be cold. Now, this is Illinois in September. It's still very hot. And she lived in a double wide mobile home, and they didn't have air conditioning. So she says they have this unnatural cold that is, blowing through their house. And she's like, I've seen things move, and I've seen these weird shadows. And then she starts telling me that Tina has stated that she was involved in a satanic sex cult. All right, cool. Whatever. I don't know if that kind of thing exists, but sure. Okay, whatever. And she says that the leader of this satanic sex cult had put a curse on her that wherever she goes, beings follow her. So I'm like, all right, I will come over there and I'll, come over to your house and I'll talk to this girl and, and see if there's anything that's going on in your house. So I go over there, and the only piece of equipment that was available to me at the time was a pencil and a loose leaf notebook. Because that's basically what we really had back then. We didn't have all the really great equipment that we have nowadays. And, so I go over there, and, this girl tells me that that these shadow things appear to her, and they taunt her, and they say mean and nasty things. And I asked her, I'm like, well, what are these? And she says that they're ghosts. I'm like, okay. So we have like this girl who's escaping a satanic sex cult that is being haunted by ghosts. I'm like, fine, whatever. So I listened to, her story and everything that she tells me. And it's like, after that, I settled down in the front room in a couch on a vigil, waiting to see if anything is going to happen. So I'm sitting there, and I get up every once in a while because it's the middle of the night. I just sort of walk around and make sure that everything is okay. And I go back to sitting in this chair. And all of a sudden, I feel this unnatural cold, start to like a weird unnatural draft sort of blowing through the house. So I noted on my notebook, and all of a sudden Tina says, Rick, they're here. And I jump up and I go into the next room, and she's now sitting up on this couch that she's sleeping on. And I'm like, well, what are they doing right now? And she's like, they appeared to me and they said that they don't want you here. I'm like, well, why don't they want me here? She said, because they think that you don't believe in them. I'm like, so I start doing, what I guess would be the equivalent of provoking, telling them, commanding them, all right, why don't you show yourself? If you're really here, prove yourself to me. And it did. I'm standing there, and all of a sudden I look up, and this human-shaped shadow appears right in front of me. And the next thing I know, I'm on the ground looking up at it. It pushed me.
Weird.
Yeah. Now, a lot of people will say, oh my God, Rick, you dealt with a demon. I'm not convinced of that. And the reason I'm not convinced of that is because what this girl was dealing with, I do believe that she may have been dealing with the thought form, with an honest-to-God tulpa that was attached to her through some kind of divination, through magic, if you will. And it was following her everywhere she went. The next morning, I told Denise, my friend, I told her, I'm like, I really think that you may need to talk to clergy about this, just on the off chance that this is something that is darker. But I didn't come to the conclusion that I was dealing with a tulpa until many, many years later. After reading up on the subject, and, trying in a vain attempt to try and understand this ancient, magic from the Far East. And I think that I was dealing with not only a tulpa that night, but I kind of suspect that I may have been dealing with, even then, poltergeist, recurrent spontaneous psychokinesis. And, it was my first investigation, and it was definitely one that I will never forget, ever. And I actually, I wrote about it in my new book. And, it was just definitely one of, it had the creep factor, it had like a horror story kind of feel. Like I had this black thing just show itself, right? And it just came out of nowhere right in front of me and then pushed me. So, it's definitely, I think it's definitely a creepy story. And, I go into greater detail in it in my book. If anybody's interested in.
Tell our audience what it's like to be physically assaulted by a ghost.
It was weird. When it touched me, it happened so suddenly that it didn't really register me at first how it felt. But it felt the same way as when Mrs. McNett, when she touched my face, it was like a feeling of static electricity. That's the best way that I could possibly describe it. That it felt like being hit by a concentration of static electricity. If I remember correctly, my hair was even standing on it after this, thing had pushed me.
Do you feel a sense of loss because you really don't know what you're dealing with or what your next action is towards this?
When I was 17 years old, I had no idea. A 17-year-old kid should be going out on dates and, going to movies with their girlfriends or their boyfriends, or, playing sports and hanging out with their friends and stuff. At 17 years old, I didn't know what I was doing. I really, honestly, I needed to read up a little bit more on the subject, and I needed to, experience more in investigation wise, and have more experiences with, psychic phenomena, before I could really even hope to understand. And I'm 44 years old now, and I still don't feel I'm any closer to fully understanding ghosts and hauntings. I think that is a lifetime pursuit, and that's basically
it really is. Go ahead.
No, that's just what I was just going to say.
How do you cope with the fact that every time you open up one of these paranormal doors, there's probably another 10 in behind it, especially when it tries to tie to your own experience?
Wait, what again? I'm sorry.
How do you cope with the fact that every time you open up one of these new paranormal doors where you think you find the answer, there's another 10 doors right behind it?
I think that that's just something that you have to come to accept, that you are dealing in a field of inquiry that by its very nature is spontaneous and mysterious. And at the end of the day, you're going to have more questions than you have answers. And you really, you have to not be afraid to say the words, I don't know. But if you're going to say those words, put a little effort into it and maybe try to understand. And like I said, it's been 150 years that there's been organized psychical research, organized paranormal investigation. And I don't think that we're really, we're just scratching the surface. We're not any closer to an answer, even 150 years later.
Do you think technology is what's going to bring more answers, or do you think we have to get more back into the spiritual side of the investigation?
I do believe that the spiritual mixed with technology will provide the answers that we seek eventually. I know that for the longest time there, it was like, man, you do not want to work with psychics. All psychics are phony. All of a sudden, everybody is a psychic, and everybody wants to work with a psychic. But I've been very fortunate to have worked with two really, really great psychics. One of the psychics that I worked with for a long time, her name is Nancy Laporta. And she is an individual that I am convinced has an actual gift. And I think that by putting the spiritual together with the technological, it will eventually lead us in the direction that we need to go.
With the technology that's involved, what do you shy away from? What do you stay away from?
I don't like the ghost box. I'll be the first to admit it. I've worked with it a couple of times. I don't care for it. I think that there, you have like this thing where you're cycling through all these different, hundreds of radio stations at one time. And, with the idea of randomness in the universe, eventually you're going to, think you hear a word say hi, or you think you're going to hear, something say your name. No, I want it to be more organic. I do like EVPs. I like hearing EVPs in their purest form. I don't like what, this thing that you see on TV when people play like an EVP and they have like this, it almost sounds like a robot that's talking. It's like this weird, like, noise that's involved. And it's like, no, if I don't want to hear that. I want to hear the actual recording that's involved. I do like EVPs. I don't like the ghost box. I don't like all the noise. I think the noise takes away from from concentrating on, what is in front of you.
Although there is a major section of the paranormal industry that feels that technology, whether it's a ghost box or camera equipment or what have you, is what is going to be solving this future mystery of life after death. What's your thoughts on that?
And that's fine. But I don't think that these people, they understand the history and the tradition behind this, because, in 1991, my uncle was an electrician for Commonwealth Edison, and he had an EMF detector. It was this enormous box with wires on it, and it's like, back then we had to rely upon our five senses, and if you're lucky enough to have a sixth or seventh or eighth sense, or have the ability to be able to talk with spirits. Psychic ability goes back, to the oracles of Delphi in ancient Greece. There were these women who were, for all intents and purposes, they were psychic. And people would go to them for everything from, should I have kids, to, are my crops going to grow? And, hey, should I go to war with this neighboring kingdom? They relied upon this. There was a time where we did rely more upon our senses. And I think that's something that that evolved with humans. Take situational awareness, for example. Situational awareness is you go into a place, you get a bad feeling about it, or you get a good feeling about it, and I'm going to leave or I'm going to stay. You're like, for example, you go into a club and you're like, man, I feel like a fight's going to happen, and it happens. Because it's something that's actually built into us, and it goes all the way back to when, we were we were hunter-gatherers. You're out in the field, you're hunting, you're hunting like a bison or whatever. You're out there with a couple of your buddies, and you hunt this thing down, but waiting in the shadows is another predator. So these ancient people, they had to evolve this situational awareness where they were aware of everything that was going on around them. And That is something that's actually kind of sort of being bred out of us right now. And it's part of what we are as human beings. We evolved this. We should use it.
It's pretty deep, man. Pretty deep for the end of the night.
Yeah, I guess so. But I mean, it's just we have to indulge in the things that make us human in this field, and we have to learn to rely upon our senses again. Back in the early days of parapsychology and psychical research, they held what was called vigil, where you sat silent, waiting to see if something is going to happen. And you can't be afraid to do that, because you have to rely upon those things that make us fundamentally human.
Right. My friend, we only got about 90 seconds left with you. And this is a show that just absolutely flew by. I want to say thank you, Rick, for coming on Spaced Out Radio and talking all things paranormal with us tonight. It's been an absolute pleasure. Do me a favor, tell everybody your websites, your links, your social media pages, where they can find your books.
You can find me just at Facebook, Rick Hale. I'm nobody special. You can find me at, through Dave's Facebook page. And you can also find me at spookyisles.com, where I'm a regular contributor there. You can read about some of the most haunted hotels across the United Kingdom. And at Amazon.com, you can find my two books. My first book is The Geek's Guide to the Strange and Unusual, Poltergeist, Ghosts, and Demons. And the second book, which just came out a couple of days ago, is called Behold, Shocking True Tales of Terror, ... and some other spooky stuff, where it's all about my investigations and some of the things that I've learned along the way over the years. And some of the things that I've even talked about here tonight, I cover in the book.
Wonderful. Appreciate that, my friend. You have yourself a magnificent Halloween night, and keep writing on the spooky stuff, my friend. We really appreciate you coming on here, and we're going to do this again soon.
I hope so. Thanks a lot, Dave.
Not a problem, Rick. That's Rick Hale, author Rick Hale. Remember, SpookyIsles.com is his website if you want to go check out any of his blogs or stories in regards to writing about the paranormal. And I suggest you do. It's going to be great reading for you. Coming up next, we have the SOR Newswire with Olaf Phillips from Paranoia Magazine coming on with the news of the night. We'll be back right after this.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio Live with Dave Scott on the Deep Talk Radio Network.
You know, it's hard being the bad man of ufology, but that's just the way that I like it. This is Chris George Zuger, and I'll be hanging out with Dave Scott and SOR scientist Chris Cogswell for Reality Paranormal, the second Wednesday of every month. And our job is to break it down and come to conclusions as to what is really going on in the supernatural world. I'd love for you to join us right here on Spaced Out Radio.
Hi there, this is Geraldine Orozco from San Francisco's Bay Area Meditation. I invite you to join me the first Tuesday of every month with Dave Scott for Spaced Out Radio's The Spiritual You. In this fast-paced world we live in, it's time for you to take some time for you. We'll cover every possible subject from powerful meditation to healing techniques to your own intuition and spirituality. So come join us for The Spiritual You.
Did you know Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi there, this is Tessa Nicole Thomas, and I'm here to take you on a paranormal journey each Saturday and Sunday night. Why change the station when you have it all right here? Together, we'll hang out and share some strange and scary stories. And don't forget, we have Psychic Sundays as well, so come tune in Spaced Out Weekend. We get going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, only at spacedoutradio.com, where we own the night.
Heading to Vancouver and looking for a night on the town? The Moose Vancouver is the bar that never stops rocking until 2 a.m. every night. The Moose has great food with everything on the menu from $6.95 to $8.95. Fantastic, vibrant staff and rock and roll that will bring you back to when the music was real, the hair was long, and the guitars were rocking. Get your party on at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Coming soon to our website, spacedoutradio.com, is the SOR Space Travelers Club. For just $5 a month, you can get into a private area on our site where you can hang with other listeners in our chat room, post in our forum, and check out a bunch of exclusive content and store that won't be found anywhere else, including a nightly after-show party with Dave. It's going to be the best $5 a month you're going to spend. The SOR Space Travelers, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Are you tired of being blocked, shadow banned, or placed in jail for simply posting your thoughts on social media? Social Media Freedom can take care of that for you. Social Media Freedom is the newest and one of the best free new apps that allows you the freedom to post what you want, when you want. It takes seconds to download from your app store. Come join the tribe at Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
A timepiece is a reflection of who you are, and what better way to show off the real you than with an Escape watch? Escape is a lifestyle brand accessorizing your days and nights. Choose to escape and create the life of discovery that you deserve. Dream, play, unite with your own personalized Escape watch. Head to escapewatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
We're bringing scientific thought to the paranormal. Hi there, this is spaced out radio scientist Chris Cogswell. Join me, Chris Zuger, and Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month, where we break down the who from the woo when it comes to everything paranormal. We'll investigate and try to bring sensible answers to those straight and sometimes outlandish questions people have. Hey, not everything has an answer, but we'll do our best. Listen in to Reality Paranormal only on Spaced Out Radio.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot THAL, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Welcome back to the final half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Good to have you with us. It's always a pleasure to get to the weird, the wacky, and the WTF of the day. We bring in Ola Phillips from Paranoia Magazine to come on in and hang out with us and tell us all about the strange happenings in the news around the world, because the news is always happening. And if you want to check out Paranoia Magazine, go to paranoiamagazine.com. You can always read the news on our website, spacedoutradio.com, in the SOR Newswire. Just click on the news tab. Mr. Ola Phillips, president of Team Stump, how you doing?
Doing all right. How are you?
You know what, buddy? I am tired today. I am very tired today. I've been up since about 7 o'clock this morning. Had to get the little guy ready for school. And then immediately after he shuffled off to school, I quickly got in my truck. And I went and cut down a bunch of firewood. I know, people are sick and tired of me talking about firewood, and I didn't have plaid on today, but I did have my thick vest on and work boots, and my hat turned backwards, so that counts.
Oh.
That counts. Right?
It's a tough life.
Oh, but
been cutting
you know what,
firewood
though?
for like 5 days.
Oh, dude, I've been cutting firewood for a month and a half now. It's about what it takes me, but I do take some breaks. But tomorrow it's a matter of splitting all that wood now. But that's okay. That's okay. I'll be warm during the winter. And for the record, for people, yes, I do have heating in my house. SOR headquarters does have natural gas heating. However, when I can save money, not that I'm cheap or frugal, but when I can save like $200-300 a month on heating costs by using my wood stove, why not? And it's always nicer. Right. It's always nicer, and you get that nice smell.
Smells way better than propane and natural gas.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally agree, man. I totally agree with you.
I got a fireplace. I use it in the winter. I just don't have snow.
Well, you know what? I'm going to be warm. That's all that matters. And, yeah, we'll see how it goes. So what's new in the land of the news, of the SOR Newswire, my friend?
Oh, well, tonight, sorry I had to clear my throat. This one's a hard one to swallow. From Live Science. No, the CDC didn't say you can't put chickens in Halloween costumes.
Come on.
We reported live. No. Chicken costume enthusiasts may have been alarmed earlier this week when headlines proclaimed the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention was ruining Halloween. Sorry. Yes, I had to clear my throat again. It's a tough pill to swallow. By telling people not to put chickens in costumes. The problem is the CDC never said this.
Fake news. Fake news.
Recent media stories erroneously reported that the CDC warned people against dressing chickens in Halloween costumes. The CDC hasn't given this advice. Benjamin Hayes, spokesperson for the agency, told Live Science in an email. That said, handling chickens comes with risks. Indeed, the CDC does advise people with backyard chickens to handle them carefully to keep their family and their chickens safe and healthy, Haynes said. The concern with handling chickens is, of course, salmonella. Chickens carry that bacteria, which can make people sick. Infections salmonella bacteria can cause diarrhea, fever, and abdominal cramping anywhere from 12 to 72 hours after exposure to the germs. And it goes on, but apparently it is now okay to dress your chickens in costumes.
Well, I'm glad we got that clarified because we really don't need any people getting upset over the fact that they can't dress up their chickens for Halloween.
I know, and carry them with them while they're trick-or-treating.
Yeah, no kidding.
Now, on the heels of that, I have another very important story. This has very deep ramifications. Came across this also on Live Science while I was finding the chicken article. How to pee a brick and help save the planet while you do it. At the University of Cape Town in South Africa, contributing to a sustainable future might be as easy as using the men's bathroom. Dylan Randall, a senior lecturer in water quality engineering at UCT, has been leading an effort to turn human urine into the zero-waste building material of tomorrow. While about 90% of urine is made of water, the remainder contains vital nutrients like phosphorus, nitrogen, and potassium for anyone brave enough to retrieve them. And that's just what Randall and his team did. They placed portable urinals in men's rooms around the campus to capture pee. Using the collected urine, Randall and his students recently demonstrated novel ways of turning the human waste into sustainable fertilizers and even sturdy limestone-like bio-bricks that can be molded into any shape within a few days. The ideal future for the bio-bricks is to create a more sustainable society, Randall told Live Science in an email. I want us to rethink typical waste streams rather as resources and to develop innovative processes to recover these. It's apparently a 3-phase process, but it does take quite a bit of urine to create these bricks. I'm trying to find it. Here you go. A single bio brick takes about 25 to 30 liters of urine to grow, according to Randall, which is the equivalent of about 100 bathroom trips for an average person. Randall told the BBC that the partially formed bricks produce a smell akin to a pet peeing in the corner. However, within 48 hours, the smell dissipates. So now your pee will become bricks.
You know what? That's not a bad idea. Honestly.
It's not.
I think it's a great way to recycle a natural phenomena.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to do it. Might as well build your house with it while you're... Build your house.
Exactly. Put the pee to good use.
That's right. I totally concur.
But the smell dissipates. We're positive on that.
He says after 48 hours, it will no longer smell like your dog peed in the corner now.
Can they guarantee that? Because, I mean, there is something a little bit eerily gross about that. But nonetheless...
Yeah?
Oh, my goodness.
Well, and you get a lot of fertilizer out of it, apparently, as well. You get 2 different types of fertilizer and a brick. But, I mean, 30 to 40 liters of pee per brick, that's quite a lot. That's 100... One person, 100 trips to the bathroom to make one brick. But I guess if you extrapolate it over a population of, say, 1,000 or 1,000,000, you'd be cranking those bricks out.
Well, I mean, either way, if it gives people the ability to have a decent home where they're protected from the elements and they're protected from, wildlife and so on and so forth.
And it's fire resistant?
Go for it. Absolutely go for it. I have no problem with that.
I don't either. I just think it's a bit gross. But it definitely, we need to figure out ways to reuse waste materials. So I found that kind of interesting. All right, next up, City reverses course on clown costume ban at Halloween event. Oak Park, Michigan, Associated Press. A Detroit suburb has reversed course after its plan to ban clown costumes from an annual Halloween event to avoid potentially scaring children drew criticism. The city of Oak Park posted a press release on its Facebook page Tuesday saying the city won't ban clown costumes or other costumes from the October 31st Halloween Boo Bash. Officials instead are encouraging parents to use their best judgment about costumes for the family-friendly event, which includes trick-or-treating, music, and a magic show. Oak Park says the initial clown costume ban came about after the city's Park and Recreation Commission heard from parents in recent years who said clown costumes are associated with scary movies that are targeted for an adult audience. So over there in Oak Park, Michigan, you can go ahead and wear a clown costume.
Yeah, I still don't like that. I still do not like that. Clowns are just freaky, scary, John Wayne Gacy. There's just no need for them. No need for clown outfits. And when that whole clown thing got... And when that whole clown thing got out of hand... couple of years ago, people trying to play the role of Pennywise, walking, through parking lots and trying to freak people out. It's amazing. Well, it's still amazing that none of these clowns actually died.
Oh, I hate clowns.
Oh my gosh.
Ugh. Yeah, I don't like them. I have a clown phobia.
I started just to cheer myself up. I started watching YouTube videos of people running back at the clowns with like a crowbar or a baseball bat or something like that. Honestly, it is extreme, but the circumstances are extreme. You don't know. You really don't know. I'm not condoning the violence, but hey, tit for tat, man. Tit for tat.
My great grandfather was a Shriner clown in the Shriner Circus,
right?
And there's one photo of him dressed up, and ever since I was a small child, I was like, yeah, let's skip that photo. Him sitting in a booth at a restaurant, okay. Him walking around, okay. Him in the clown costume, nope, skip that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ugh. Don't like it.
No, don't like it a bit. Do not like it a bit.
No. Now I got another good one.
Okay.
So you know how we reported the guy towing his boat with a scooter, right? Well, we got more news. Man caught smuggling live cobras under scooter seat. October 23rd, UPI. An alleged smuggler in India was found with 3 venomous cobras hidden under the seat of his motor scooter. A video recorded by wildlife officials in Banjapur, Karnataka, shows what authorities found when they stopped the man and searched his scooter. The man, who had been reported frequenting a nearby forest region for suspected poaching activities, was found to be hiding 3 hissing cobras under the seat of his vehicle. The footage showed the snakes were alive and showed aggression toward their rescuers. And cobras are a protected species in India, but they are prized by poachers for their skins and venom. Wow. So more novel uses for scooters.
Unbelievable. Why play with poisonous snakes, man? Why play with poisonous snakes?
What's the connection to scooters? There's something about scooters right now. I don't know.
I don't get it. I really do. I really do not get it, man. Really do not get it. I mean, I will not be playing with any kind of cobra at all.
No. And I won't be riding a scooter anytime soon or towing a boat with it.
No way, man.
I just can't do it. Can't do it.
There's just something wrong with that. I mean, okay, I understand. I mean, cobras are probably big business, and as you said, on the black market, they are extremely valuable. I get that, and I can appreciate that, right? Not that I'm agreeing with the black market, because I find it kind of disgusting, especially when it involves any animals.
Same here.
But the fact is, going out in the forest and hunting cobras, that's crazy talk, man. That is total crazy talk.
That's a Darwin Award waiting to happen.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely, yes. Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yes, absolutely. Let's go into the forest to go hunt for one of the most lethal animals on the face of the earth. Yes, that's a great idea. And then once you get them, throw them into the little storage compartment under your seat, and go right around town with them in the storage compartment under your seat. No, they're not going to be super angry when you open up the seat to pull them out. Again, Darwin Award winner.
Wow. I wonder how many cobras a year kill the humans who are trying to get them.
That's a good question. I bet you we can find out.
That'd be kind of cool. I love it when the poachers get karma, man. I just love that.
Yeah, poaching's a bad scene. That's just disgusting.
Let's move on to the next one, my friend.
Okay.
We got to make it a quick one here.
Bridezilla slammed for making A4 is the size of paper, a large sheet of paper, list of strict wedding rules, and setting up a honeymoon GoFundMe page. A bride has come under fire from her own family after sharing an A4 list of strict rules for her wedding and asking guests to pay for their own food, alcohol, and cake. Brides come up with all sorts of crazy ideas for their wedding day. After all, it has to be perfect, but it's fair to say sometimes they take things a little too far. This is the situation for one young bride-to-be found herself in after she was called out by members of her own family for her ridiculous list of demands. The cousin of the bride took to social media, of course, to share all the bizarre details of the wedding, and people were outraged. From Melbourne, Australia, the stunned wedding guest shared a photo of the rules she had been sent by the bride for the big day. There are a lot of rules. A full A4 page of text asked guests to pay for their own food, alcohol, and cake at the wedding, and instructed that bright colors shouldn't be worn for the ceremony. It also provided a detailed guide on how people could donate to the couple's GoFundMe page for their honeymoon. I'm looking at the list. I can't read it, but it's really long.
My God.
I love my family and all. Go ahead.
Wow. Bridezilla to the extreme right there, man. Bridezilla to the extreme.
Not only do you have to pay for flights and accommodations if you lived in a different state, but you also have to pay for your own dinner for the wedding. Oh, and get this. On the invitation, it read, if your name wasn't on the invitation, assume you're not invited. My dad received an invite, but not his girlfriend, so we just assumed only Dad was invited and not his partner. She goes on to joke that the wedding could not have been any cheaper unless they'd had it in their own backyard. Then they have an example. All the details will be in the official invites, which are getting sent next week. I put a post up on Facebook about it last week if you want more info, but basically instead of wedding gifts, we're asking people to pay for their meals and alcohol. The cost of the dinner for the night is $40 per person, includes platters, main course, and cake, as well as a basic soft drink.
Well, that's nice. At least they get a soft drink.
Yeah.
Oh, that's very nice. Very nice. Hey, maybe you know what? On the flip side, maybe we're razzing them. Maybe they didn't have a lot of money. Maybe they didn't have a lot of money. I remember when my ex-wife and I got married, we didn't have a lot of money. So we said to people, because we were having a big outdoor wedding, we said, in lieu of gifts, bring a dish. That way everybody got a good meal. And it worked perfectly.
That's different.
Oh, yeah. True enough.
That's different.
True enough. My friend, we got to wrap this thing up. Tell everybody where they can find Paranoia Magazine.
ParanoiaMagazine.com, Paranoia Magazine on Facebook, Paranoia Mag on Twitter, Paranoia Mags on Instagram, and you can follow my wacky adventures.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Olaf. We'll talk to you tomorrow night on the SOR Paranormal Roundtable. You'll be one of our guests. Big thank you to Rick Hale coming on from SpookyIsles.com, talking all things haunted. Tomorrow night on the program, like I said, we have the SOR Paranormal Roundtable. We do it the final Friday of every month. Come hang out with us, 9:06 Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern at spacedoutradio.com. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot THAL rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to all of you for sharing the show, playing your parts in the chat rooms and on Twitter. Thank you so much for being with us, because together, my friends, we own the night. I'll talk to you in 21 hours from now. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Good night.